The most important part of a 3D platformer is the stage selection. I could be playing as Gex with controls that feel like wading through pudding, but if the stage is fun, who cares? I would also argue that Mario 64 is a very important 3D platformer. Well, that and I don't want to waste the hundreds of hours I put into the game. So we're going to talk about the stages of Mario 64. Oh, also, you're gonna start seeing this idiot in videos now because it makes it more personal or something. Let's waste no more time and start at the very beginning. Whomp's Fortress. Now we're starting with Whomp's Fortress right here because it is the blueprint that every other single stage should be made after. Or at least most of them, there can be a little variety. The most important thing here is where you start in the stage. You start in a little corner with 4 different directions to go. For me, the ideal stage would have at least 3 different directions to go from the very beginning. This is so you don't travel over the same path over and over again to get to different stars. Luckily, that never happens in this game. As for the stage design itself, I really do think it's perfectly designed for any skill level of player. If you're a beginner player, you can follow the dirt path at the beginning and go the most basic way up to the top. Or if you're a more skilled player, you can do some weird skips and jumps to get all the way to the top in record time. This is key. For a game as replayable as Mario 64, you need to be able to play it a different way every single time, so stages that you have to follow one path are going to be even worse. Luckily, that never happens. As for individual stars themselves, I don't want to go over every single star, but I will mention the ones that are particularly good or particularly bad. Now, nothing in Whomp's Fortress really stands out to me as something particularly bad, but I will mention the fact that at the end of the first and second mission, they're both just a climb to the top mission with a slight difference at the very end. I dislike those kinds of missions, but in this stage it's not too bad because it's only done once as opposed to multiple times. One mission that I really love though is Blast Away the Wall. This was mind-blowing. I'm not gonna bring up the whole, ooh, first 3D game ever thing much, but it needs to be said here for the second stage of the entire game. Blowing away a chunk of the level geometry is so cool. And even though it may seem a little bit cryptic, there's only one cannon in the entire stage, the mission title gives you a hint, and you can barely see a little line on the part that you can break off. I bet a lot of you didn't know that you can actually break off the other side too. There's just nothing there. This one is the most solid S tier stage. All right, now let's actually go in order. Bob-omb Battlefield, the very first stage you'll ever see. Probably. Once again, with this being the very first stage, they give you a very pronounced path to walk if you're a beginner player. Otherwise, if you're an expert player or coming back to the game, you can go kind of wherever you want. Let me just throw a few at you rapid fire. You can go through the canyon and slope kick up the marble. Is that too advanced? Well, you can grab onto the tree at the very beginning of the stage and hop straight up the ledge at the very beginning. You can also run through the canyon and do a wall kick later on to skip there. Then once you get to the mountain, it's not even done here. One of my favorite tricks in the game is being able to wall kick up this little hole that you're meant to fall down into higher up in the mountain to get to the top incredibly fast. And all of this is without mentioning all the little warps that you could learn about if you're lucky. I do want to talk about quite a few stars in this one because a lot of them are good, but there's one that really doesn't do it for me. First of all, I think the first star is fantastic. It's your generic climb to the top of the stage, perfect for the first mission in one of the first 3D platformers ever. It even includes a boss fight at the end so you can learn a few more mechanics in the first stage. One mission that really blows me away is the decision to make the second mission a race. You've climbed the mountain and learned the stage once. Now, do it fast. It puts you in a bit of a tense situation without the stakes actually being high at all. The rest of the missions are alright, but one that I really have to talk about is Mario Wings to the Sky. They were so close. Now normally I don't think that having to backtrack to a stage is too bad because everything in the game is meant to be done in any order. However, for the very first stage of the game, I think it would have been nice if you could have completed it and then moved on. It's worth to mention that you technically can do this without the wing cap, but that's akin to torture. However, this is still a really great stage. There's not too much that's bringing it down for me, so this is going to go into A tier. Now for our first water stage, Jolly Roger Bay. I hope you had fun in the last 2 stages, because it stops here. That might be a little too harsh. As far as water stages go, this one isn't too bad, plus you have a really nice song to listen to in the background. And aesthetically, this stage knocks it out of the park. It's really creepy with this fog over the water, and then of course we have to talk about Unagi the Eel. I think that most stages in this game have one star that really shines out of the pack, and for this one it's Can the Eel Come Out to Play, which is also a great name for a star. Now otherwise through the stage, the swimming is pretty boring. You have plenty of air underwater, so there's really no threat there. but now you have to be precise, and if you mess up, you hit the eel, which makes you take damage. It creates a surprisingly tense situation, even though it may not look fast at all, and I love it. Speaking of unagi, this is also the first stage that changes after the first star. Once you chase the eel out of the ship floats back up to the top of the water, and now you have a new platform to explore. I love it when stages do this, just to give you a bit of a story to follow. It's not the Odyssey, but I'll take it. Unfortunately, I don't have much else good to say about this stage. I do, however, like that you're able to get the star in the whirlpool without actually getting the metal cap. That's pretty cool. It does suck that 2 stars basically have the exact same puzzle, and that brings it down a bit for me. That, combined with the pretty slow pace of the water movement, puts this stage down into B tier. Not terrible, but it's average, which is really good for a water level. Cool mountain. The most notable part of this stage is that you spawn at the very top instead of the very bottom, and this completely flips the gameplay on its head. Instead of trying to find the one specific path to get you to the top or where you need to go, you now have essentially infinite paths to go anywhere. This is because as a beginner, yes, you will just slide down the slide that was made for you to get to the bottom. But as an experienced player, you can just jump off the mountain and land wherever you want. Specifically, I think of wall kicks will work, where normally you have to slide all the way to the bottom of the slide, find the Bob-omb that opens the cannon, do a pretty specific cannon shot onto a tree, follow a path for a little bit, and then you can do the wall kicks will work star. Or you could just jump, and you're there. This even stays consistent in the slide in the stage, and normally I don't really like slide levels, but in this one, if you don't want to do it, you can just jump all the way to the bottom. As a result, this stage is incredibly fun to play as a returning player. And of course, how could I not mention the little penguin is lost mission? This is a message out to all my ROM hackers out there. You all sorely underuse this mission type. I love it so much. Oh, and if you thought that being tethered to this penguin made it really hard to get to the bottom quickly, no, getting to the bottom was so fun with this penguin. Oh, and of course, never forget your opportunity to... I don't think there's a single bad thing I can say about this stage other than maybe ice physics? That's like it. This one's going to go into S tier. Next up is Big Boo's Haunt. This is one that even though I like it very much, I have to take away a lot of points here, mostly for how empty the stage is. There is almost nothing outside of the mansion other than a scuttlebug or two and a box. This stays true for the basement, which is basically a bunch of hallways put together with one objective at the end. Inside the mansion though, I love that. I think the stage gets top prize for one of the best first missions, where you're basically given an extermination request to kill all of the boos on the bottom floor of the mansion to make Big Boo spawn, and then you defeat Big Boo, and guess what? It transforms the stage. This gives you access to the second floor, but of course you can skip the staircase with a well-placed wall kick. There had to be one extremely puzzle-based stage in the entire game, and I think this one worked out pretty well. But as much as I enjoyed the first mission, they reused the Big Boo boss fight 2 more times, which is just exhausting at that point. That's gonna put it down into B with Jolly Roger's Bay for me. Time for Hazy Maze Cave. Also time to start spitting hot takes. I feel like Hazy Maze Cave is a stage that most people dread as they're going in, as did I for most of my life. At some point though, I realized that I actually really enjoy playing all of the stars in Hazy Maze Cave. First of all, you're never made to walk the same path every time. The paths split into 2 at the very beginning, and then they split off more after that, and eventually come back full circle into each other. Every single dead end that I can think of leads to a star. They also give you a map at the very beginning of the stage, which is extremely tasteful. Now, unfortunately for y'all, I have to talk about every single star because they're all so unique. I'll go fast though. Swimming Beast in the Cavern utilizes the one and only dory in the entire game. Elevate for 8 red coins uses the only 4-direction elevator in the entire game. Metalhead Mario Can Move is the first time you use Metal Mario underwater to press a switch. Navigating the Toxic Maze has the only toxic gas in the entire game. Amazing Emergency Exit is the first time that you grab onto the ceiling and crawl across it. Not especially exciting, but still unique. And then Watch for Rolling Rocks is just cool. This is a mission that a lot of people remember because it's just a neat little secret that feels like you actually accomplished something when you find it. And then the nice cherry on top of the cake is the fact that as an experienced player, you can just jump through ceilings. Like you can just clip out of bounds and jump into a different room and get a star. Now, why was I always dreading coming to the stage? Oh, there's one star that we didn't talk about, isn't there? The 100 coin star. This thing sucks. So the maze is nice when you only have to get to the end of every path and that's it. But for the 100 coin star, the coins are scattered across the entire stage, meaning you have to go down specific paths to get the coins there, go back, go down another specific path, go back, rinse and repeat forever. This is one of the worst 100 coins missions in the game, and that's saying a lot because the 100 coin missions are not a fun part of the game. There's nothing else bad for it in that way, only the 100 coin star, so this is going to go again into A tier. Now, Lethal Lava Land. What can I say about Lethal Lava Land? Well, not much, because there's not much here. This stage is literally just a bunch of platforms put on a lava lake. It does a somewhat similar thing to the first stage where it gives you a very obvious path to go for beginners, but if you're experienced, you know that you can just jump on the lava, take as much damage as you want, and skip around from place to place. The only part of the stage that I really find fun is taking the wing cap and triple jumping off the arch at the very beginning to grab Hot Log is Rolling really quickly. Every other star is pretty boring. The 8 red coins are placed right next to each other. You fight the same bully boss twice, and bully bosses are just the same as bullies, but bigger. And then the game feels the need to introduce the concept of auto-scrollers to you by riding the elevator inside the volcano. Nope. Being inside the volcano is cool in and of itself, but the stars there are nothing special. So I think this is gonna go down into F. Shifting Sandland, 2 bangers right after each other, huh? It has a very similar problem to Lethal Lava Land where there's just not a lot of walkable space, except this time, you die. Yeah, as a beginner player here, this stage sucks. You would have no reason to know that riding on a Koopa shell can get you across instant death quicksand, because what sense does that make? So your only option for movement is going along the really tedious path or finding the wing cap. Now luckily, as an expert player, you know that you can triple jump over the hill at the very beginning and basically go straight to the pyramid. I will admit, this is very fun. Speaking of the pyramid, this stage has a problem with its 100 coin star. I don't know about you, but whenever a stage has a point of no return and the coins carry over from the first area into the second, I always get a little bit of anxiety, and I never know if I have enough coins to go into the second area yet. In fact, this is so disliked that in almost every ROM hack I've played, there's always a sign outside of every point of no return that says that there's no return. Sometimes they even put the exact coin count that's in the point of no return. Nothing like that here though. You just jump in and you're here now. The inside of the pyramid is a cool concept, once again similar to the volcano, but for 2 of the stars in here, you have to travel the exact same path all the way up to the top for 2 stars. Yes, this is skippable, but this is from a beginner's point of view. IROC is pretty cool though. That makes it an absolutely terrible experience for beginners. Luckily though, it does get some points for being on a replay a lot more manageable, so I'm going to go ahead and put this into C tier. Dire Docks. Wow, they really don't want you to play past Area 2, huh? Man, this stage has nothing going for it. At least I could say something nice about Shifting Sandland, but I struggle to find anything here. At least some of the stars are short. You basically spawn into a giant cylinder of water, and in this cylinder of water, there are 2 stars immediately right at the beginning of the stage. For the rest though, you have to swim through an incredibly long hallway, which is used to load the second area by the way, and then you reach the other side of the stage. This is no better. Getting onto the submarine is alright, but once you get to the other stars, it's even more annoying than swimming, could you imagine it? The red coin star has you jumping from slow moving pole to slow moving pole for every single red coin. And if you fall off back into the drink, you have to work your way all the way back up. That's not even the worst part though. The worst part is the 100 coin star. I said Hazy Maze Caves was pretty bad, but this one takes the cake. There are 106 coins in the entire stage. Yes, this means if you miss 1 ring of 8 coins, you have to search through the entire stage until you find it. And let me just say, this is a large stage, and coins do not have a very long draw distance. You can be relatively close to a ring of coins and not see them at all. That, combined with them loving to hide coins nowhere near any points of interest, makes it to where you're just searching the stage constantly. Oh, also, there's a blue coin switch here, and if you miss 2 of the blue coins, the 100 coin star is ungrabbable. I cannot fathom why they chose this to be the stage with the least amount of coins, but they did it, and it was a decision. It sucks. This is the worst stage in the game, F tier easy. Snowman's Land. The poor man's cool mountain. I guess the only way that they're really similar is the fact that they're ice stages. This stage features a really cool giant snowman in the middle. Don't worry about it though, it's only used for 1 star. The rest are all various levels of boring on the very bottom of the stage. I'll go ahead and say that I really like the igloo star. It's neat figuring out that you can crawl into the igloo, and then using the invisible cap to get through the maze is just satisfying. The others though, I can't speak so highly of. They reuse the bully boss fight from Lethal Lava Land, and then there's a star that you have to nail a jump off of a pedal enemy to fly up to a ledge. Problem here being, of course, if you kill the enemy without getting up to the ledge, you're out of luck. There are weird jump shenanigans that you can use to get up to this ledge otherwise, but it's not worth figuring out in your first time. That's like all I have to say about this stage. It's a very plain stage for halfway into the game. It's going to be a C tier though, just because it's not actively annoying you with instant death and annoying swimming mechanics. It's just not good. Wet Dry World, did you miss the good stages? Now actually I think this is a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I'm not really sure why. The hallmark of this stage is being able to jump into the painting at different levels and changing the water level alongside it. This makes the tedium of having to swim around a lot less pronounced. Don't want to swim? Put the water level at the lowest and jump around looking for coins or the secret spots at the bottom. Don't mind swimming little? Well, you can set the water level to the highest position to easily get to the stars at the top and to the cannon that'll shoot you into the tiny town. Instead of having branching paths at the beginning of the stage like a few other great stages do, the branching path in this one is literally jumping in. The town area is pretty neat too. The other 2 water areas don't really have any challenging platforming, but the town area feels like a playground. You can wall kick or triple jump up many of the buildings and just play around to find all the red coins. I love it. This is also another instance of you having to travel all the way to the town for 2 different stars though. Honestly though, I'm really just happy that they mixed something up for the 3rd and final water stage. None of the stars are too much of a drag, maybe the secret spots because they're not telegraphed through any coins or anything. That's about it I could think, so this is going to get a solid A. It's a B because it's still a water stage. Time for Tall Mountain. Now instead of having some weird gimmick, this stage is completely centered around just climbing to the top of something really big. Other stages dabble at this, but this one thrives. Luckily, they give you many options on how to scale the mountain. As a beginner player, you can follow the spiral all the way up. It'll be slow, but it'll be safe. But at the very beginning, if you walk backwards, you can jump off the cliff and get carried up halfway up the mountain. Not only that, but multiple times on the main path, it'll split to give you a usually slightly harder way to get up the mountain a little bit quicker. While I like the stage itself, unfortunately, a lot of the stars don't do it for me. First of all, you know how I said it's about climbing the mountain? Well, they put 3 stars at the very top. And while yes, there are multiple ways to get to the top, it does all converge into one path about 2/3 of the way in, so you need to follow that one path 3 times to get all 3 of these stars. The slide is also one of the most cryptic things to find in the entire game. You just jump into a wall. Like, there's no hints towards this. I always thought that there was a coin line leading into it, but no. They just put it near the wall, not even pointing at it. I don't get it. Luckily, the slide can be just completely skipped by jumping off the side. And then they have an oddly placed cannon shot star, where it's the first instance of missing a shot and dying immediately. Luckily, it's placed pretty close to the beginning of the stage though, so the stakes aren't too high. I feel like I've said a lot negative about the stage, but I do overall think it's on the positive end of things. I think it'd be at the very top of B rank. Alright, Tiny Huge Island. Now I've got a problem with this. I don't have a problem with the gimmick itself, but I don't think the stage is tailored to the gimmick very well. I suppose if you don't know, there's 3 paintings. You can jump in 2 of them for some reason. Jumping into the small one makes you giant on the mountain, and jumping into the big painting makes you tiny on the island. Now, if done correctly, this could have been really cool, but it wasn't. The optimal way to pretty much do every single star is to start as Huge Mario, get to the top of the mountain, jump in the pipe, and then fall down to wherever you need to go instead of climbing as Tiny Mario. I think they should have given you a few more movement options on the huge island, like maybe an owl or maybe a wing cap, or spawn you at the top of the stage. That would have equalized it pretty well, but no, it's just optimal to be big. Now, none of the stars are particularly notable because most of them don't make use of the transforming island grand gimmick. There is one though. For the Wiggler boss fight, you have to get to the top of the island as large Mario, ground pound it to drain the water, I don't know how that works, don't ask me, and then climb back up as small Mario to get into the hole that opened up when you ground pounded. This is such a cool way to use both sizes. I don't know why they didn't do this for most of the stars, but they missed their chance. Yeah, I don't particularly love this stage. I think this one's gonna go down to C for me. Tick-tock clock, now this is where the pace starts to pick up. This is one of two very difficult stages in the game, but they're difficult in different ways. Tick-tock clock is one giant long path with a bunch of stars placed along the way. Now what does that remind me of? For me, the ideal stage would have at least 3 different directions to go from the very beginning. Oh yeah, exactly how I said not to design a stage in this game. With that being said though, something's really charming about the stage to me. Being inside a clock is a cool idea for a stage. Being able to change the speed of all the platforms is a really unique gimmick, and if you're looking for any challenging platforming, this is the stage you'll get it in. Probably the only stage. Now as I said, the stage is one long path. There's a few branching paths, but they're not very large and they just lead you straight to a star. They don't meet up at the path at a later point. There is one at the very beginning of the stage, but you have to have the time stopped, and it's more annoying than the actual path, so there's not really a reason to go onto it except for the red coins. Now there is one upside to the stage being linear, and that's the 100 coin star. Instead of having to go down all these different paths to find every single coin, you kinda just get all the coins you need along the path. While this doesn't make for a very unique 100 coin star, it does make it one of the easiest, and for that, I can thank the stage. So yeah, great stage, great theme, terrible missions, terrible pace. It's gonna go in B, just because I like the stage. I don't know if that's fair, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Now, I know that Rainbow Ride is not popular, but I do have a few positives to say. First of all, yes, it's a bunch of floating platforms in a pit, let's get over that. The rainbow and cloud stage aesthetic holds up to this day. In fact, one of the Mario Party boards that's based on this aesthetic is one of my favorite themes of all time. Now at the very beginning, one of the biggest downsides that I keep hearing about this stage is it's one path, it's an auto-scroller. While that may be true for some stars, but at the very beginning there are a few paths that you can take. You can follow the regular path to the right, or you can turn around and long jump to another platform that leads to tricky triangles and the pendulum stage. Climb the pole and you get to what I consider the hub of the stage. Heading out from any direction here will send you to one or two of the stage's stars. This is the part that I really like. I like being able to choose a path and having it be almost completely unique for the whole star. Plus the red coin area is extremely fun to play around in. Where it grinds to a halt is when you go for the upper 3 stars of the stage. These are the big house in the sky, cruiser crossing the rainbow, and somewhere over the rainbow. The latter two almost being the exact same star for like 5 minutes straight with a little divergence at the end. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. Why is this path so long and so easy at the same time? This makes no sense. This is course 15. You can sit here and dance on the carpet for like a minute straight and not get hit by anything. And then of course at the very end you have a miss it and die cannon shot. Things that we all love at the end of our 5-minute long missions. And then Big House in the Sky. Even though this is not a repeat mission like the other two, it's so long. Like, it's not even difficult, it's more boring than anything, and while I do like my sort of victory lap end stages, this is not it. I think they thought this was difficult, but it wasn't. Even though I'm putting this in B, that's still a lot higher than most people would because they just really don't like this stage, but I don't know. Something about it, the theme, the music, something. Now I suppose at this point I could talk about all of the secret stages. I think that'll be a different tier list though. I think that makes sense. There's my general thoughts. I just thought it'd be interesting to get someone who's put a large portion of their life into this game. How long have I been playing ROM hacks and doing weird runs of Mario 64? 8 years now? It's been way too long. Anyway, if you are now interested in watching any of my Mario 64 stuff, I did play through the game with my feet. I think that's probably my most interesting run thus far, and it is slept on, so please go watch me play with my feet. I wear socks, I promise, because if I didn't wear socks, you'd have to pay for that. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I just want to throw a quick shout out to all of my Patreon supporters.
who make putting my time into making videos a bit more viable to do. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.